Hi again, everyone. Gary Digital Williams here on Beltway Boxing News and Notes on the Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network. And as always, the Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network can be heard on Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, Podcast Addict, and Google Podcasts. So wherever you can go, you can listen to the Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network. And of course, this week, our news and notes. There's no pro boxing to talk about, of course, because of the COVID-19 situation. So there's some amateur news to talk about. So we're going to talk about that a little bit because what's happening in the amateurs is really it's affecting one particular boxer, and also affecting just a few minutes ago has affected the entire USA boxing scene. So we'll talk about that in this podcast. And also I talked about last week that while I was doing the tribute to Roger Mayweather and mentioning that one of our local boxers, Daryl Tyson, fought with him and beat him during his career, then I kind of hinted at the fact that I was going to do some more tributes to legendary careers here in the Beltway. I'm going to start that this week with the guy we talked about, Daryl Tyson. That's going to be our tribute for this week, highlighting his great career. So we'll talk more about that as we go on. Beltway Boxing News and Notes on the Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network, brought to you as always by Real-Time Pain Relief. From boxers to ballerinas, for shoulder pain and muscle strain, everything between, Boxing on the Beltway recommends Real-Time Pain Relief, the natural, plant-based, safe, fast, and effective ointment. You go to freepainoffer.com, you buy $10 worth of Real-Time Pain Relief, you get a free $10 tube of Real-Time Pain Relief, the official pain relief of the 2020 Daytona 500. Rub it on. The pain is gone in real time. And by DeborahSpears.com. She has great weight loss tips, great jewelry, great training methods on her website. That's Deborah, Debra Spears.com. We've probably heard by now that the International Olympic Committee decided to postpone the Summer Olympics in Tokyo, Japan until the summer of 2021. Now, the IOC, they faced pressure from a number of countries, including the United States, who did asked that the games be delayed. But Canada and Australia in particular, they only requested delay in the games due to coronavirus outbreak. They also threatened to pull their teams from the games if they were to go on as scheduled. But thank goodness cooler heads and better heads prevailed. Representatives of the IOC, they recently met with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, also local organizers in Tokyo. They decided the games could not go ahead as scheduled this year because many athletes, they were complaining all over the world that they were unable to train properly due to the COVID-19 situation. So we mentioned that throughout as a national story, international story really, and it really does affect us in the Beltway because one of our Beltway boxers was on the U.S. Olympic team. His name, Keyshawn Davis, originally from Norfolk, Virginia, but now training and living out of Alexandria, Virginia. Now, what I didn't really know, and I should have guessed because his resume throughout his amateur career speaks for itself. I didn't recognize that he was probably the U.S.'s best hope to get a medal at the Olympics this summer. And his resume speaks for itself. He won a National Golden Glove. He was the last Beltway boxer to win a National Golden Glove championship. That was in 2017. He has done extremely well in the national competition. He won a silver medal at the Elite Men's Women's World Championship in September of last year. He won a silver at the Chemistry Cup in 2018 in Halle, Germany. The Elite Men's World Championship were in Russia, in Ekaterinburg, Russia. He also took gold medal in his first tournament, and that was in Sofia, Bulgaria, at the Stranja tournament. That was in 2018. And he also won a silver medal at the Pan American Games in 2019 in Lima, Peru. So he's been all over the world. He fought in the USA-Ireland dual meet and did well there. That was in Massachusetts, but he did well there. So his amateur pedigree speaks for itself. It's been outstanding. And so that has led to some great situations. However, with the 2020 Olympics being postponed until summer 2021 due to the ongoing threat of the coronavirus, athletes with special aspirations have made difficult decisions now. Steve Kim of ESPN recently talked to Keyshawn Davis, and I mentioned this. I mentioned that Keyshawn has a decision, and whether or not he'll wait for 2021, that remains to be seen. But, and as we talked about that just a few hours later, Steve Kim of ESPN wrote an article on ESPN.com that basically had Keyshawn Davis all but officially saying that he was going to turn professional in 2021. He put out an Instagram post that said, "I'm going professional at 135. What's up?" Quote unquote. But he kind of clarified that he didn't say that's not exactly what he was going to do yet. He said, quote, "I'm not going to lie to you. I'm most definitely thinking about going the other way, meaning turning professional. I'm going to keep thinking about it, and most likely that's what I'm going to do." So right now he's rated number 1 at 138 pounds by USA Boxing, and we talked about his pedigree. And the upcoming Olympic Games will expected to be a fulfillment of a dream and the end of what has been a very storied amateur career. We just talked about that. And Davis went on to say, "I'm not going to even lie, quote, I was thinking about the Olympics since I was 7 years old before I even started boxing. I didn't know what I wanted to be Olympics for. He just wanted to be there. He just wanted to do it. I honestly thought," he said, "that I would be Olympics for track instead of boxing." Now, it said many amateur pundits believe that Davis was the best hope for U.S. boxing gold medal in Tokyo. So he went on to say, quote, Keyshawn Davis said, just what I want to do. I just feel like going pro right now. It's been on my mind even before the Olympics got postponed. He's got plenty of interest from professional managers and promotional outfits. Now that it's postponed, he's like, shoot, why not? It's the perfect time, too. Everything is shut down. When stuff opens back up, I can jump right into deep waters. So some people have said that a year goes by very quickly and he can stay in there and still do it and still compete for the Olympics in 2021. But he already has big options of going pro and being more well off than I am right now. He's going to consult with his trainer, Kay Caroma, who's also the assistant coach of the United States Olympic boxing team. He's going to talk to family members, but the choice he'll make will be his and his alone. So we'll see what happens. Again, he's had a great amateur career, but with the delay, who wants to risk that and risk possibly getting injured during the Olympics and not having a pro career at all? I mean, that's something you may want to talk about that. We want to think about that. So that's where we stand right now. Right now, Keyshawn Davis on hold as far as the Olympics is concerned, and says he'll make a decision very, very soon whether or not he'll forego the Olympics and decide to turn pro. Meanwhile, sticking with the amateurs, we got a big announcement just a few moments ago from USA Boxing. Now, USA Boxing a few weeks ago, we talked about this on the podcast, decided to suspend all sanctioned events until March 31st. That was the original situation. And that meant the Golden Gloves here in Washington, D.C. and literally all over the country, those who have not had them already, they have been delayed. And the Washington Golden Gloves finals and the regional Golden Gloves finals were scheduled to be sometime in early and mid-April. Well, that may not happen now because USA Boxing today extended the suspension of all sanctioned events until April the 30th. So it looks like the Golden Gloves may be done. I mean, I don't know if Bob Magruder and the people around the Washington Golden Gloves and as well as the Virginia and North Carolina Golden Gloves, whether or not they still want to do it because it'll be so much taken away from that. The out on that is the suspension of the Olympics, which allows more amateurs to get more time in. I mean, even though the Olympic team has already been set for the United States, it still allows more amateurs to get more time in. So maybe that may be the out. Maybe we'll be a little bit later on in the year. We don't know. But right now, the Golden Gloves, as we know it, the schedule is all messed up now because of this extended suspension. April 30th now is where this suspension is. April 30th. Refunds will not be given at this time, but you may reschedule your show at a later date. And in regard to the closure of registered clubs and gyms, USA Boxing strongly suggests following the local governments requiring the closing of health clubs and gyms. So this is going to be a tough road. I mean, and of course, the COVID-19 epidemic has been a tough road for everyone in all walks of life, and it's just going to get. It probably will get worse before it gets better, and that's what they're saying anyway. So, be prepared, folks. Stay safe. Stay indoors. If you don't have to work, don't. And just stay safe. I've been off my job for the last few weeks because of this. The cemetery is closed. The metro stop to the cemetery is closed. So there's no way I can go to work right now. And they've closed in the DC, in the Beltway area. The schools in Maryland are closed until April 24th. The schools in Virginia are closed for the entire academic year, but they are doing some online teaching there. So that's just some of the things that are going on because of this epidemic we're facing right now. So again, just stay safe, wash your hands, and if you don't have to go out, don't. No question about that. Now, getting back to boxing. As I said, from time to time, and I think we're going to do it more now because we don't have a lot of news going forward, but we're going to do more tributes, great events in Beltway boxing, great boxers in Beltway boxing. And I want to start off this week with a guy that I've considered my friend for more than 30 years. A man that I enjoyed watching box over his long career. He boxed from 1982, I think it was. Yeah, 1982 all the way to 2004. And he's had a storied career. Probably, I would guess, the best boxer out of the Beltway that I know of who never went on to win a world title. He had a couple of chances. We'll talk about that as we go through this. But if you heard my podcast last week, you heard me talk about Roger Mayweather and his passing. And one of the bouts that he fought against a Beltway boxer was against this man back in October of 1993 for the USBA Super Lightweight Championship. And he won that bout. This man won the bout by split decision at the Bally's Park Place Hotel Casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey. His name, Darrell Terrible T. Tyson, out of Washington, D.C., of course. And he was D.C. to the core as a boxer. Still is to this very day. Now a great trainer of young people here in the Beltway. And he's a remarkable man, no question about it. I look to him. He's almost like my guru, so to speak. When I talk about what goes on in history of Beltway boxing, about boxing in general, he's one of the first people I try to talk to in this situation. And he was an outstanding boxer, had a record of 50-14 with 24 knockouts and 1 draw. And he won numerous regional titles, but just fell short as far as a heavyweight championship. A world championship, He was a lightweight. Most of his career, he was a lightweight for like 10 years, and then went up to super lightweight. He started his career on September 3rd, 1982 in D.C. It doesn't say where it was in D.C., but he won a 5th round. He started off in a 6th round fight. He had a very storied amateur career, almost made the Olympics. He may have made the Olympics in 1980, but of course the U.S. did not go to the Olympics in 1980. So he started his career in September 1982, won a 5th round knockout over Wayne Anderson. And he went on to win his first 5 bouts. And then he lost a bout at the Prince George's Community College at Novak Fieldhouse in Largo, Maryland. Lost a split decision to David Grayton III, who was the father of current David Grayton, David Day Grayton, And he lost a split decision, 8-round split decision in that bout. So he'd already started off his career with a 6th round. Very rare. Now, that did not happen again until the late Gary Rock Payne did it in his career about 10 years later. So he went on and he fought most of his bouts in the D.C., Maryland area, primarily in D.C. and in Baltimore. He did fight at the Baltimore Civic Center, what is now Royal Farms Arena, won an 8-round unanimous decision over Tony Stern in May of 1983. And then in October of 1983, he scored his biggest win to date when he won a 10-round split decision over Jimmy Paul. We're going to come back to that name in just a moment. Jimmy Paul, that was on October 11, 1983, and that was at Tropicana Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. Now, he fought a number of times in Atlantic City throughout his career. And then Jimmy Paul's name would come up again. Now, before I get to that, though, let me get to this real quickly. In July of 1985, July 6, 1985, at the Washington Convention Center, the old Washington Convention Center, Tyson would win a 12-round unanimous decision over Melvin Paul, no relation to Jimmy Paul, for the WBC Continental Americas Lightweight Championship. Now, that's significant for a couple of reasons. Number one, think about that. That was a 12-round bout for a regional title, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment as well. But around that time, that was about the first time that I had a chance to meet Daryl Tyson. And I was at Howard University. I was a student there, writing for the Community News, which was a paper that was the community version of the Hilltop, which was the newspaper on campus. Community News stretched outside the boundaries of Howard University into the neighborhood. And he'd won the Continental Americas Championship, and it was a nice story. And not only that, the gym where he trained at the time was right up the street from Howard University. It was on Georgia Avenue Northwest, known as the House of Champions Gym, a very, very famous gym at one time in the Beltway. And I went up there to interview. I walked up there to the gym to interview him. Now, it was very significant for me for a number of reasons. Number one, it was my first real interview in boxing. I had never really done a lot of interviews in boxing at that point. Number two, Daryl Tyson was not only the first pro boxer I ever interviewed, he was the first pro athlete that I ever interviewed. So that was very significant with me. We hit it off right away. Very nice interview. He talked about about the significance of the WBC Continental Americas Lightweight Championship, had him ranked in the top 10 in the WBC and so on. So it was a great interview, and we got hit off right away. And a few years later, we come back again and get together again during my boxing spotlight days. We'll get to that in a moment. Now, in March of 1986, March 1st, 1986, at the Washington Convention Center, he fought a guy who would later become a master trainer in his own right. He successfully defended his WBC Continental Americas Championship against Freddie Roach. Yes, that same Freddie Roach, who's now a legendary trainer. That was a 12-round unanimous decision. Now, again, these regional titles were 12-round bouts back in those days. Okay? His next fight would be for the IBF Lightweight Championship, and it'll be up against Jimmy Paul, the same Jimmy Paul that he would win a split decision against back in 1983. However, this time a little different. Jimmy Paul would defeat Daryl Tyson in a 15-round unanimous decision. And yes, Daryl Tyson is the last Beltway boxer to ever compete in a 15-round bout and go entirely 15 rounds in that situation. That was in August 15, 1986 at the Cobo Arena in Detroit, Michigan. And Tyson would lose that bout by unanimous decision. So he would go on and he would win the NABF lightweight title from Jaime Rocky Balboa on July 24th, 1990, a 12-round split decision. So they had not made the change yet from dropping the regional bouts to 10 rounds and dropping the world championship bouts to 12 rounds. It hadn't happened yet. So he may have been the last Beltway boxer fighting a 12-round regional title bout. Who knows? Yeah. So anyway, he would go on. He would get another shot at the WBC Lightweight Championship against Miguel Angel Gonzalez. By that time, they had moved them down to 12 rounds, World Championship bouts. This was in Mexico City on December 5th, 1992. He would lose a 12-round unanimous decision. This was a very interesting stretch for Tyson at the time. We talked a little about it last week. We're going to go into a little deeper. Because in this stretch of bouts from December of 1992 to October of 1993, he would face 4 straight boxers who at one time would be world champions. Again, he lost to Miguel Angel Gonzalez on December 5th, 1992 by 12-round unanimous decision. He would lose, fought to a draw against Livingstone Bramble, former IBF champion, on July 2nd, 1993. But this time he was moving up to super lightweight. We talked about last week how he lost a 10-round unanimous decision to Rafael Ruelas on July 17th, 1993. That was 15 days after the Livingstone Bramble fight. He would fight Rafael Ruelas, lose a 10-round unanimous decision there. And then he get that win against Roger Mayweather on October 27th in Atlantic City, 1993, by 12 rounds split decision for the USBA Super Lightweight Championship. Now, we talked again about how he would fight Genaro Hernandez the very next fight on August 18th, 1994, and how he would win by fifth round knockout and get cut along the way and put in jeopardy his next fight, which would be against DC Clinton, Maryland product, actually, Reggie Showtime Green in DC at DC Armory. However, he persevered and went on to fight that fight. We talked about that last time around. Outstanding fight. One of the best fights I've ever seen in the Beltway. And Tyson would win a 12-round split decision for the NABF and USBA Super Lightweight Championships. So Tyson win that bout on September 20, 1994. You ever watched the video that was on USA Network, by the way, and you hear Reds, his trainer, would ask him, do you have 3 more minutes? You got 3 more minutes? And Tyson would say, I got 3 more minutes. I got 3 more minutes. And he went on to win the bout down the stretch. Great win there. That was in September of 1994. So he would win the NABF and USBA titles, and he would put the USBA title on the line against another former world champion, Fearless Freddie Pendleton. That was on April 29th, 1995, the Beltway Brawl here at the USA Arena, Landover, Maryland. That was the card that featured Vincent Petway taking on Simon Brown, and Bernard Hopkins winning his first world title against a Cuban boxer. That was the first fight was in Ecuador. Segundo Mercado, that's his name. Segundo Mercado. Bernard Hopkins, Segundo Mercado. And that's when Bernard Hopkins won his first title. But the bout that everybody thought should have been on the telecast, and even Don King said this, the promoter said this, and Mike Tyson echoed it. This was Mike Tyson's first public appearance after his release from prison. And they all said that the bout between Daryl Tyson and Freddie Pendleton should have been on the telecast. It was a great bout. Oh, it was a tremendous bout. These guys fought tooth and nail for 10 rounds, and finally Freddie Pendleton got the knockout over Daryl Tyson that night, and it was a tremendous bout. Oh, one of the great bouts of all time. And so Tyson would lose that bout. He would also lose a 10-round majority decision after that on September 16th, 1995 against Fred Ladd, who was undefeated at the time, 33-0 at the Mirage in Las Vegas, Nevada. But he would bounce back, Daryl Tyson would. And on October 11th, 1995, he would be at the fight night at the Washington Hilton Hotel. He would win a 10-round TKO victory over Anthony Suggs. And what I remember about that particular bout was the smoke overlooking the ring that night. It was fight night. I've talked about many times. Fight night, the Fight for Children that recently concluded its run this past year. At that time, the cigars were prevalent. They were able to be smoked in the arena, and they were smoked all throughout the ballroom. And it was a hazy cloud over the ballroom at that time. And you can see it was so visible, it was unbelievable. And after the fight was over, Tyson won the bout by TKO. And after the bout was over, the smoke actually made Tyson fall out. And that was pretty much it for that. So it was very, very scary at that time. But he would go on and win that bout, another great bout in the Beltway here. Then on September 9th, 1996, Tyson would get his last shot at a world title. He would lose by second round knockout to Oscar De La Hoya. That was in Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. Quite frankly, Tyson did not do a lot of winning in the latter part of his career. He lost to such people as Diablos Hurtado. He lost fifth round TKO there. Lost by 11th round TKO at the fight night to Zab Judah on October 15, 1998. But he would come back 2 years later and win a very interesting bout at the D.C. Tunnel in Washington, D.C. He won a 8-round split decision over Emmanuel Clottey on July 3rd, 2000. And that was a very interesting bout, great bout. No one thought Tyson would win that bout. And came back and won it in a great fashion there. He beat Alex Perez at the DC Tunnel in June of 2002. Win his last bout on March 8th, 2003 against Steve Valdez at the Lincoln Theater. And then lose in his final bout on December 12th, 2004 against a guy who later became world champion himself, a DC native named DeMarcus Chop Chop Corley. And that was his last bout, December 12th, 2004. That was at the Washington Convention Center. He lost by 10-round unanimous decision. So Daryl Tyson is one of a kind. He is an outstanding boxer. He was an outstanding boxer and a great man. He's been totally about the city. He's helped the kids out over the years. He's training boxers as we speak. And he's just been a tremendous, tremendous role model for myself and other people in the DC boxing scene. So that's my little tribute to Daryl Terrible T. Tyson, outstanding boxer and a great friend. I'm so happy to call him my friend. Well, that'll do it for another edition of Beltway Boxing News and Notes on Box on Beltway Podcast Network. Don't forget about Box on Beltway Podcast Network, brought to you as always by Real Time Pain Relief. Go to freepainoffer.com, buy $10 worth of Real Time Pain Relief. You get a free $10 tube of Real Time Pain Relief, the official pain relief for the 2020 Daytona 500. Rub it on. The pain is gone in real time. And by DeborahSpears.com. She has great weight loss tips, great jewelry, and great training methods at Deborah, Debra Spears.com. I'm Gary Digital Williams. Thank you so much for joining us as always. And always remember to keep supporting the best boxing in the world, the boxing along the Beltway. Thanks for listening. Take care.